The Steadfast Tin Soldier, a classic bedtime adventure. Hello, my little treasures. Grandpa has a special story for you tonight that I used to love when I was your age. Get cozy under your blankets, bring your favorite stuffed animals close, and let your imagination sail away with me on this wonderful adventure. This is the story of a brave little soldier who teaches us about courage and true love. So relax, close your eyes if you'd like, and listen carefully as we journey together into this magical tale. Are you ready? Then let's begin. Once upon a time, in a nursery filled with wonderful toys, there lived a set of 25 tin soldiers. They were brothers, all made from the same old tin spoon, and they looked exactly alike in their smart red and blue uniforms, with their rifles over their shoulders, standing perfectly straight and looking straight ahead. All of them were identical except for one. The last soldier made from the tin spoon didn't have quite enough metal left for him. So while his brothers had 2 legs, he had only 1. But despite this difference, he stood just as tall and proud as any of his brothers, balancing perfectly on his single leg. On the boy's birthday, the tin soldiers were arranged neatly on a wooden table alongside other new toys. The one-legged soldier, from his position at the end of the line, gazed around the nursery. His eyes fell upon the most beautiful sight he had ever seen, a paper ballerina standing at the entrance of a little paper castle. She was cut from paper, wore a lovely dress of thin, clear fabric, and had a shining spangle on her chest. Her arms were stretched out wide, and one of her legs was raised so high behind her that the tin soldier couldn't see it, making him think she had only 1 leg, just like him. She's perfect, the tin soldier thought to himself, but she lives in a castle, and I only have a box. She's too grand for me. Still, he couldn't take his eyes off her. When night fell and all the toys in the nursery came to life, the tin soldier remained standing firmly at his post, watching the ballerina, who continued to stand gracefully on 1 leg without losing her balance. Very late that night, a mischievous Jack-in-the-Box toy popped open his lid and spoke to the tin soldier. "Tin soldier," he said with a scowl, "keep your eyes to yourself. She's not for the likes of you." But the brave tin soldier pretended not to hear and stood even straighter on his single leg. In the morning, the children placed the tin soldier on the windowsill. Suddenly, whether it was the Jack-in-the-Box who did it, or a gust of wind, the window flew open, and the one-legged tin soldier tumbled headfirst from the 3rd floor to the street below. Oh, what a terrible fall! He landed on his head, with his single leg pointing straight up in the air, his helmet and rifle wedged between the cobblestones. The boy and his maid ran down immediately to look for him, but even though they almost stepped on him several times, they couldn't see him. If the tin soldier had only called out, "Here I am," they would have found him. But he thought it wasn't proper for a soldier to shout while in uniform. Soon it began to rain. The drops fell faster and faster until there was a heavy downpour. When it ended, 2 street boys found the tin soldier. Said one, "There's a tin soldier. Let's send him on a voyage." They made a boat out of newspaper, placed the tin soldier in the middle of it, and set him sailing along the gutter. The 2 boys ran alongside, clapping their hands. Goodness, how the water rushed along in the gutter! The paper boat rocked up and down, sometimes spinning around so quickly that the tin soldier felt dizzy. But he remained steadfast, never changing his expression, looking straight ahead with his rifle on his shoulder. Suddenly, the boat floated into a drainage canal, where it was as dark as it had been in his box. "Where am I going now?" he wondered. "This must be that Jack-in-the-Box's fault. Ah, if only the little ballerina were here in the boat with me, it could be twice as dark for all I would care." Just then, a large water rat who lived in the drain appeared. "Do you have a passport?" asked the rat. "Show me your passport." The tin soldier remained silent, holding his rifle even more tightly. The boat rushed on, and the rat followed. Hoo! How he gnashed his teeth and shouted to the sticks and straws, "Stop him! Stop him! He hasn't paid his toll! He hasn't shown his passport." The current grew stronger. The tin soldier could already see daylight ahead where the canal ended, but he also heard a roaring sound that would frighten even the bravest of men. Just imagine, at the end of the tunnel, the canal fell into a large drain that was as dangerous for the tin soldier as a giant waterfall would be for us. He was now so close to it that he could not stop. The boat plunged forward, and the poor tin soldier held himself as stiffly as he could. No one could say that he so much as blinked an eye as the boat swirled around 3-4 times, filling with water to the edge. The boat was about to sink, and the water was up to the soldier's neck. The boat sank deeper and deeper. The paper became soft and loose, and then the water closed over the soldier's head. He thought about the beautiful ballerina whom he would never see again, and a famous old song echoed in his ears. "Farewell, farewell, brave warrior, death is your destiny." Then the paper boat tore apart, and the tin soldier fell through only to be swallowed immediately by a large fish. Oh, how dark it was inside that fish! It was even darker than in the drain, and it was very cramped too, but the tin soldier remained steadfast, lying full length with his rifle on his shoulder. The fish swam wildly about, making the most terrible movements, but then it became very still. After a while, there was a flash of lightning, and the tin soldier could see daylight again. Someone had caught the fish, taken it to market, and sold it, and now it was in the kitchen where the cook had cut it open with a large knife. She picked up the soldier by the waist with 2 fingers and carried him into the living room, where everyone wanted to see this remarkable man who had travelled in the stomach of a fish, but the tin soldier wasn't proud at all. They placed him on the table, and there, by some amazing chance, he found himself in the very same room from which he had fallen. He saw the same children, the same toys on the table, and the lovely little castle with the beautiful paper ballerina, still standing on one leg with the other raised high, just as steadfast as himself. He was so moved that he could have cried tin tears, but that wouldn't have been proper for a soldier. He looked at her, and she looked at him, but they said nothing. Just then, one of the little boys picked up the tin soldier and, for no reason at all, threw him into the fireplace. The flames lit up the tin soldier, and he felt terrible heat, but whether it was from the actual fire or from love, he didn't know. His colors had completely faded, but whether this had happened during his journey or from sorrow, no one could say. He looked at the little ballerina, and she looked at him. He felt himself melting, but still he stood firm with his rifle on his shoulder. Then suddenly the door opened, and a gust of wind caught the ballerina. She flew like a sylph right into the fireplace beside the tin soldier, blazed up in flames, and was gone in a moment. The tin soldier melted down into a small tin heart. The next day, When the maid emptied the ashes from the fireplace, she found him in the shape of a little tin heart. Of the ballerina, there remained only the spangle, and that was burned as black as coal. But do you know what, my dear grandchildren? In our story, things turn out differently, because I believe that true love and courage deserve a happy ending. Just as the tin soldier was about to melt completely, the boy who owned the toys realized what he had done. "My soldier," he cried, and with quick thinking, he asked his father to help. His father used tongs to carefully retrieve the tin soldier and the paper ballerina from the edge of the fire. Though they were a bit scorched, they were still intact. The boy's father, who was clever with his hands, repaired them both. He made the tin soldier a new leg from leftover metal, so now he could stand on 2 feet just like his brothers, and he carefully restored the ballerina's paper dress with colorful paints. The boy placed them together in the paper castle, side by side, where they could always see each other and never be separated again. And there they remained, in that castle of happiness, 2 steadfast hearts, who had found each other despite all the obstacles the world had placed in their way. The lesson, my dear ones, is that true courage means staying strong even when facing difficulties. The tin soldier never gave up hope, no matter what happened to him, and just like him, we should remain steadfast in the face of challenges, always being true to ourselves and to those we love. Remember that sometimes the things that make us different, like the tin soldiers, one leg are what make us special, and no matter what adventures or hardships life brings, a brave heart and hope can carry us through to happiness. Now, my sweet grandchildren, if you enjoyed our bedtime adventure tonight, please don't forget to tap the like button, subscribe to our channel for more magical stories, and ring that notification bell so you'll know when Grandpa has a new story to share with you. Sweet dreams, my darlings, and remember to be brave and steadfast, just like our little tin soldier.